Gaining muscle is a lot like leveling up in a video game. Every time you play a new game and you start at the early level, you can beat a couple enemies and you'll level up to the next level pretty fast. And it's easy to keep doing that until you reach a certain point. From there, it gets a little harder to level up every time because you need exponentially more XP to get to the next level than you did before. This is very similar to when you're gaining muscle. When you first start, there's this thing that everyone refers to as newbie gains, which is you can start working out at the gym and you'll gain a lot of muscle really fast because your body isn't used to this new challenge that it's experiencing. So it adapts really quickly to this new level because you're starting from nothing and it's really easy to gain that XP. But just like in video games, as you get more developed and become more advanced in your lifting experience, it becomes a lot harder to level up and you might experience a plateau. Now this requires a lot more grinding through consistent effort in the gym, just like in a video game. And unfortunately, you might grind so much that you feel like you can't lift any more weight and you peaked or plateaued in the amount you can lift at all. So in this video, I'm gonna go over why you might be experiencing that and how you can get past that and continue to increase in your gains. And stay at the end, I'll give you some boosts that'll help you level up your muscles a little faster. Now, essentially, there are two aspects to your muscle gain. There's gaining size and then gaining strength. You can't get bigger muscles without gaining more strength, and you can't get more strength without getting bigger muscles. Now, how you gain more size is by getting more sarcoplasm, which is essentially just making the size of each individual muscle cell larger. And then the way you gain more strength is by gaining more myofibrils, which are these tiny cells in your muscle that allow you to produce more effort and force when you lift. Now, if you feel like if you peaked in your strength gains, you're gonna have to build up more size. And this is done through sarcoplasmic hypertrophy. Essentially just building more sarcoplasm in your muscles so there's more room for the myofibrils to build up in order to generate more force and therefore more strength. And how you gain more sarcoplasmic hypertrophy is by lifting more reps as opposed to more weight. Now, once you build up more sarcoplasmic hypertrophy, you can then move on to myofibril hypertrophy or myofibril packing. And this is essentially building up in the size and number of myofibrils in each muscle. Now, the reason why I mentioned hypertrophy versus packing is because there are technically two ways to gain more strength. That's building up the size of the myofibrils you currently have, and there's also building up the number of myofibrils you have. Now, it's unclear how to do each one separately, but the current hypothesis going around is that you'll build up your myofibrils in size until a certain point where they'll split off into two myofibrils. And this is done by lifting more weight as opposed to reps, as we mentioned earlier. Now, the most efficient way I've found is once you've peaked or plateaued after getting those newbie gains, or as you consistently lifted and you reach that peak, is to go into a phasic cycle of lifting, where you're gonna have one phase for strength and one phase for mass. Usually most people will need to build up mass first before they build up strength. So the first phase I recommend is building up mass. Now, studies show that the most efficient way to do this is through moderate weights, which is about 60% to 80% your 1 rep max, and high volume, so over 21 sets per week per muscle group. Once you've found your 1 rep max, calculate what 60 to 80% is and try to do that weight for, I go about 5 to 10 weeks at a time. That'll be your first phase. Once you build up a significant amount of size, move on to the next phase, which is your strength phase. Now, this strength phase is essentially building up more of the myofibrils, which are gonna allow you to build more force in your lifts, and you're gonna fill up that space that you built up through your hypertrophy phase. Now, the most efficient way this is done is through getting 85 to 100% your 1 rep max and doing about 10 to 20 sets per week. You don't want to overexhaust your muscles, but you want to give enough resistance that your body feels the need to generate more myofibrils to build up the more strength to lift the heavier weights. And you're going to do this with a lot lower reps as you do the hypertrophy. With hypertrophy, I recommend about 8 to 12 reps per exercise, and for strength, I recommend about 5 reps per set. Now that you guys have gotten to the end, here's some XP boosts in order to gain muscle a lot faster. One of which is really easy, and it's to take creatine. It's probably the most studied supplement out there, and your body naturally produces it. You'll get it in many foods, but doing a creatine cycle might be the most efficient way, especially during the hypertrophy phase, because it allows your muscle to perform more reps before they get tired. Essentially, you're able to do a lot more work without needing more time to rest. And doing more work in a set allows your muscles to gain more gains. The second way to boost your gains is by having a third phase, which is the deloading phase or a recovery period. Essentially what this is giving your body a period of rest. After going through the hypertrophy and strength phase, your body over time is going to need an additional recovery phase where you're not pushing yourself in the amount of reps you do or the weight that you're lifting. By giving yourself a week where you're doing less than 55% of your normal weights and doing moderate reps, your body will have time to recover and fully replenish the areas where it's depleted and allow you to heal in areas that might have been overused when you were doing those phases. So having 1 to 2 weeks before you start another cycle allows your body to fully get to the peak of where it could be and allow you to get the most out of your hypertrophy and strength phases. And the third XP boost is to work on your joint health. Now, while your gains do require a lot more muscle to be able to lift more, your muscles aren't the only thing that are required in order to move weight around. There are also your joints. This is why bodybuilders who use steroids, who build up their muscles really fast, essentially have a lot of joint problems when they get older. It's because their muscles have outpaced their joints, and their joints are the areas that are failing, not necessarily their muscles. So not only working on your muscles, but working on your joint health will allow you to lift a lot more weight. I highly recommend you check out the YouTube channel, The Pioneer, as he has lots of videos on how to develop joint health and building them up even stronger than they were before. Now, before you go, I have a quest for you guys. Figure out what your 1 rep max is, and if you haven't peaked or plateaued yet, work on developing your own strength, hypertrophy, and deloading cycle in order to get the most out of your gains and get past that peak and plateau you've had. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video.